What is going on, everybody? My name is Dakota, and welcome back to Coda's Colognes. And today we're going to be looking at and reviewing Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille. Now, this fragrance is a little bit tricky to wear, and it's honestly a little bit tricky to review because the nature of this fragrance leads it to where the timing of when you could wear this fragrance is a very small window in a very small period of time. But nonetheless, this is the one we're going to look at today. We're going to go ahead and get into it. Alrighty, so at one point in time, Tobacco Vanille held itself as one of my absolute favorite fragrances. And I'll explain to that as we get into this. So the first thing we're going to do, oh, gotta fix the cap here. So the first thing we're going to do, so this is the 30 ml bottle, and we're going to show off the, for how small this bottle is, it has a crazy burst. The atomizer on this is actually very good. The scent profile on this, so I will go ahead and let you know right now, if you're not someone who absolutely loves a thick dose of tobacco and the sweetness of just a pure vanilla, this fragrance ain't gonna be for you. So for me, I bought the smallest bottle that you can get this in. I bought the 30 mil. So for the preference of the video, I'm gonna be kind of talking about like the 50 mils. Just for me personally, I have 30 mil, and that is only because, as I mentioned earlier, the window that you get to wear this is actually a little bit tricky. This is such a thick, heavy tobacco scent, and for how sweet this scent is, because when you first spray this, that's all you pick up is vanilla and tobacco, and as it dries down, that's all you keep is vanilla, a little bit of woods, and tobacco. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get this bottle spinning up, and we will get into the note breakdown. Alrighty, so we're going to get into the notes of this, and the top notes are no surprise. The top notes are tobacco leaf and spicy notes, and the moment you spray this, that is exactly what you get. You are almost overwhelmed with a raw, sweet tobacco and a warm spicy. The middle notes on this are going to be vanilla, cacao, tonka bean, and tobacco blossom. Again, everything about this screams tobacco and vanilla. When Tom Ford released this fragrance, calling it what he did, he knew exactly what he had in mind. And the base notes on this are going to be dried fruit and wood notes. The wood notes on this, given the nature of it, I would be willing to bet that this is some form of maybe cedar. I don't really see this being like a sandalwood. Who knows? They just put wood notes. The dried fruit notes on this as well. I do not get any dried fruit out of this whatsoever. So I know some people say they do. Me personally, I don't get any out of this. Just based on my experience, even all the way into the deepest dry downs, this stays a pure, sweet tobacco fragrance. And me personally, that is why I love it so much. And let me get y'all flip back around and we'll get into the rest of it. Alrighty, and we are back. So about 30-40 minutes later, here we are. I love almost everything about this fragrance. Now here's the only drawback. I used to love this fragrance so much more. A few years ago, it was reformulated, and I had no clue it was reformulated. I had a 10 ml decant, and the stuff inside that bottle could strip paint off a ship. The new formulation on this has been dialed back quite a bit, actually. This is a lot softer of a fragrance than it used to be. And I don't think they even changed any notes. I just think they literally just turned down the potency of this fragrance. It's been straight up chopped. I can't say that I truly love this fragrance anymore, because part of why I loved this so much in the past was I loved how thick this fragrance was. I loved how bold, robust, it was in your face. It was kind of sharp on the nose even. Like, this was not a fragrance that would hit you lightly. It would just straight up come up and smack you. So now it has been turned down a little bit. It's been kind of doled out a little bit, which to me is, I kind of don't like that anymore. Or I still love this fragrance. I just don't like the fact that it's been turned down, because even with this dialed down scent, you still can only wear this kind of in certain situations. Like for me, this is a winter fragrance only. This doesn't really have a place in fall for me. This doesn't really have a place in spring. Definitely does not have one in summer. Summer wise, this would be an awful fragrance, because the chemistry makeup of this fragrance. Now, is this still made with absolute top tier quality? Absolutely. Tom Ford's private line, they put a lot of thought, a lot of care into everything they produce. But unfortunately, it just got turned down a little bit. So pricing and availability for this. So for the pricing and availability, I went ahead and did the 50 mils because if you're not someone who has a huge collection like me, you may want just a little bit more. Retail on this for a 50 mil is about 280 to 300. This fragrance, being Tom Ford, being quality, being what it is, this is probably the most niche designer fragrance you'll ever see. And I could be wrong on that, but again, that is just my opinion. Is to me, this screams niche quality and niche material. Discounters, the 50 mils, you can pick those up for about 240 to 250. So not a big discount, but it's still a $50 discount. In the grand scheme of it, that's a huge discount. And then I recommend, actually, however, some of the Facebook groups that I've mentioned, go out and join a couple Facebook groups. In those groups, look for trusted sellers, stuff like that. Because for 50 mil of this in that same Facebook group, you can normally find those going for about 170 to 200. Now, some of those are going to be brand new in box. Some of those may be slightly used. But if somebody buys it and they don't like it and it's only missing 4 or 5 sprays and you know you love it, you can get it for $120 off. Highly recommend doing that because that will save you so much money. But again, buy from a trusted seller on those Facebook groups. Do your research on that person. Do a legit check. Most people will never get mad if you're venting that person to make sure they're authentic, to make sure the bottle will be authentic. But if you're someone who doesn't like to take those risks, if you're someone who doesn't like to take those gambles, discounter's the way to go. Still saves you 50, 60 bucks. So now I'm going to hop into the performance side of this. And this is where I get a little sad because the performance on this used to be a performance monster. Like, I cannot tell you what kind of performance this thing used to have because it was 3 or 4 sprays would fill up a room. But what we're working with now is probably a 5 to 6 spray fragrance. The longevity on this is still really good though. The longevity is still in that 7 to 9 hour range. And if you put it on clothes, it'll go 13, 14 hours. But the biggest fall off wasn't the longevity, it was the sillage and the projection. Used to, this had a sillage trail of 4 or 5, sometimes even 6 feet. Like you could leave a trail. And projection wise, when you walked into a room, this fragrance would walk in, smack everybody in the nose and say, "Hey, I'm here." Now, the projection is much more, sits a lot closer to the skin. Now it only has a 1, maybe 2 foot projection. And the sillage is the same. Like when you get up, move around, it doesn't have that monster overflowing scent that it once had. Now it's 2, maybe 3 feet. Scent profile wise, it smells almost exactly the same. Like you can tell they literally didn't really change a note. They didn't even change their portions. They just tuned it way down. To me, that's unfortunate because when the time arises that you can wear a fragrance that calls for something like this, you kind of want it to be loud. You want it to be robust. You want it to be in your face. And this, unfortunately, is no longer that. It's still a good fragrance. It is still a beautiful blended fragrance. This is a fragrance that I like to spray on. I'll get out of the shower, I'll put 1 or 2 sprays on just because I still do love the way this smells. It doesn't have the performance that it once had. Because the whole time you're wearing this, you're going to be overwhelmed with a beautiful tobacco note. You're going to get so much vanilla. You're going to get some warmth to it. You're going to get a little bit of that spiciness from it. Some people have claimed to get a little bit of a fruity note off this. I've never really picked up much of a fruity note off this at all. But like I said, if you're someone who just loves tobacco and vanilla based fragrances, the name is Tobacco Vanille, and that is exactly what you get. But you've got to have some confidence when you wear this. This isn't a fragrance that you can just wear lightly, as odd as that may sound. This isn't going to be an everyday fragrance. This isn't going to be a fragrance that a lot of people like. This is one of the more complimented fragrances that's in my collection. If you're going for compliments, this will get you compliments. But this also might be one of my disliked fragrances in my collection. So every time I wear this, I'll get a few people that'll ask me what it is. They'll tell me it smells wonderful, it smells amazing. But at the same time, or I'll have someone ask me what I'm wearing, and I'll tell them, and I can tell by the look on their face, they're asking, that way they know what to not buy. I'm going to say for me, this fragrance is an 8 out of 10. Now, if it still had the backbone in the structure that it had before they turned it down, I would give it a 10 out of 10 all day. But If that standard, if your standard of a 10 is a fragrance that you would not change a single thing on, this doesn't fit that bill, because I would change this. I would change it back to what it was. If I'm spending 100, in my case, I think I got this. This is a 30 mil, and I think I got this for 130. If I'm spending that much money, I want I want it to be that monstrous projection. I want it to have that, just in that raw in your faceness. And this just doesn't have that. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get on to this one more time. Now, presentation wise, this is a beautiful presentation. I like everything about this. This is about as clean cut and good looking as you're gonna get. But so that is going to wrap us up for today. As always, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for everyone for subscribing. Thank you for the comments, the feedback, everything. It's truly awesome. I really enjoy it. And also, we're about halfway to 200 subs. At the timing of me recording this, we're about halfway to 200 subs. I'm going to be doing another small giveaway at 200. I'll release more details the closer we get to that. So yeah, get it on this bottle one more time. And as always, thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.